What if the version of you making decisions right now isn't actually you? What if it's just a recording of past events you are only seeing now? Because that's exactly what I discovered when I ran a 30-day experiment on my own mind. And what happened on day 7 genuinely unsettled me. I'll tell you what that was. But first you need to understand what's actually been running you this whole time. Your brain is obsessed with efficiency. Every time you react to something, stress, conflict, failure, your brain logs it, packages it, turns it into a shortcut. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Those shortcuts don't expire. So, the way you handled rejection at 16? Your brain might still be using that same program today. The way you learned to go quiet when there was tension at home? Still running. In your relationships, your work, your body. You're not responding to now, you're responding to then. And when I realized exactly where my patterns were coming from, something clicked that I couldn't unclick. I'll show you what that was. Psychologists call this conditioning. Neurobiologists call it reinforced neural pathways. Ancient contemplative traditions, from Stoicism to Vedic philosophy, called it reactive consciousness. Different words. Same message across thousands of years. If you don't observe your patterns, they become your personality. And most people never observe them. They just live them. Over and over. Calling it just who I am. It's not who you are. It's what you practiced, without realizing you were practicing. Here's what I did differently. The first thing I did was stop reacting and start watching. Every time I felt triggered, irritated, anxious, shut down, instead of following the feeling, I got curious about it. Not, I'm angry, but what pattern just switched on? And something almost immediate happened. The emotion lost power. This isn't just intuition. There's solid neuroscience behind it. When you name what you're feeling, activity in the amygdala, your brain's alarm system, actually decreases. Researchers call it affect labeling. Your brain shifts from threat response to observation mode. In plain language, naming it interrupts it. But here's the thing most people miss. Awareness alone doesn't change you. It just shows you the door. You still have to walk through it. There's a principle in neuroscience that explains why change is so hard. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you repeat a behavior, even one you hate, you make it stronger, more automatic, more you. So I stopped feeding the old circuits. When the pattern said withdraw, I communicated instead. When it said procrastinate, I acted for just 5 minutes. When it said shut down, I stayed present. And I want to be honest with you here because most people skip this part. It felt wrong. Not uncomfortable, wrong. Like I was betraying something. That feeling, that's important. I'll tell you exactly what it means in a second. I almost quit on day 10. Here's the only reason I didn't. I stopped asking, how do I feel today? And started asking, who am I practicing today? That one shift changed everything. Because here's what neuroscience and ancient wisdom actually agree on, which they rarely do. Identity is more powerful than motivation. Your brain doesn't reinforce behaviors. It reinforces identity. It protects whoever it thinks you are. So if deep down you still see yourself as someone who struggles, who withdraws, who can't sustain change, your brain will quietly sabotage every effort to prove otherwise. But when you shift the identity, the behaviors follow. And 2 weeks in, I had proof. Remember I told you something unsettled me on day 7? Here's what happened. The situation that used to completely derail me, same trigger, same external circumstances, showed up again. And I waited for the reaction. It didn't come. Not because the situation changed. It hadn't. Because I had. And that's when I understood something about how the brain actually works that most people never learn. Your brain doesn't see reality as it is. It predicts reality based on past data. It's constantly running simulations built from old experiences, and then filtering everything you see and feel through those simulations. Change the past data you're feeding it? You literally change what you experience as real. That's not spiritual speculation. That's called predictive processing. And it's one of the most validated models in modern neuroscience. Here's what I wish someone had told me before I started. Breaking patterns feels like losing yourself, because yourself, the one you've known your whole life, is mostly repetition. Repeated thoughts, repeated reactions, repeated stories. When you disrupt that repetition, something in you panics. It calls it danger, it calls it loss. That anxiety, that resistance, that voice saying, "This isn't working, just stop." That's not failure, that's rewiring. That discomfort is literally your brain restructuring itself. Most people quit right here. Please don't. At the start of this, I told you something unsettled me. Here's the full truth. I wasn't stuck. I was rehearsed. 30 years of rehearsal. So automatic it felt like identity. So familiar it felt like reality. And the method that actually changed it wasn't affirmations. It wasn't visualization. It wasn't motivation. It was 3 things. In this exact order: observe, interrupt, repeat. Observe the pattern like a scientist, not a victim. Interrupt it before it completes, even once. Repeat the new response until your brain stops fighting it. That's it. Not because it's simple, because simplicity is the only thing the nervous system actually responds to. You are not your patterns. You are the awareness that can see them, which means you are the awareness that can change them. And once you truly see that, you can't go back to sleep. If this landed, the next video goes deeper into the identity layer and exactly how to use this during high-stress moments when your brain wants to revert the hardest.